and Jill for helping make this happen. You guys always work wonders for us. My name is Juliette Brown, and I am the Region 1 representative, co-hosting this with Tariq, who's the representative for Region 2. And we have Katie Camus here today. So Katie is the Executive Director of Mommy's Haven Maternity Home. Katie has been with Mommy Haven for about 10 years, helping start the nonprofit from a need she saw in the community in 2010. Katie sits on the board of the Lake County Community Action Team and the Fetal and Infant Mortality Review Team, spearheaded by the Indiana State Department of Health. So I will toss it over to you, Katie.
Thank you. I think I'm unmuted. All right. I am Katie Camus. I am the executive director of a little organization called Mommy's Haven Maternity Home. My background's actually in psychology. I am an MSW student currently with Juliette. And I have been with the organization for about 10 years. So during my undergrad internship, I had to find an organization to work with, and I was trying to find something local to kind of make an impact in my own community. What I thought I was stepping into was an established organization. And what I found out was it was just two people that kind of had an idea. And so for better or worse, I went and we created a nonprofit. 10 years ago, the intention was to give pregnant moms an option. So our co-founders both worked at pregnancy help centers, and they saw a need for women coming in who were pregnant and having to choose between homelessness and whether to keep their baby or not. And there were no options other than short-term shelters in our area. So we, over the first 5 or so years, wrote policies and procedures and fundraised and wrote a lot of programming. And in those days, we used what we called host homes, which is kind of our version of adult foster care. So we would find families in the community that wanted to partner with us. They would take these pregnant moms into their homes, give them a safe place to stay until they had their baby and kind of recovered. And then, hopefully they were able to move out or sometimes move back in with their family, things like that. Over the last 5 years, we've built a home. It is in Lowell, so we're South Lake County. We serve the entire United States. So we don't have any county or state restrictions. We've had moms from as far as Idaho and Washington, and as close as our hometown. We do a lot of things. Our main program that we offer is a residential home. So it is very much a home. It's not set up at all like a shelter. We can house up to 6 moms. They do have to be 18. So as long as they're 18 and they're pregnant, those are the only guidelines to have access to our program. They can bring their children with them if they have other children. And our program is set to be about 18 to 24 months. So our goal is that by baby's first birthday, they're kind of ready to graduate the program, but we don't have any hard and fast rules about that. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're continuing to succeed, then they can stay in our program. So depending on where they come in during their pregnancy, we've had some come in as early as 6 weeks, and we've had some that have moved in and given birth the next day. We do also take moms postpartum. Our guidelines tell us 6 weeks. Typically, if we're going to get a mom postpartum, it's going to be a referral from one of the local hospitals. Usually they don't have somewhere to go, so DCS we'll kind of get an informal report, and we'll work with the social workers at the hospital and the DCS caseworker to see if they're a good fit for our program. And so during the time, during their stay with us, we do a whole array of programming. So the first things we do, we are certified by the state to do infant safe sleep and car seat safety. So that'll be their first two programs that they go into. But we cover everything from basic life skills to budgeting, financial planning. We do career prep. We have somebody come in and teach them how to write a resume, how to dress for an interview, how to answer questions in an interview. We do, we kind of take a holistic approach. So we kind of do mind, body, spirit, and we have people come in and do yoga and prenatal fitness, and we do self-care classes, infant care classes, breastfeeding classes. We do a huge parenting program. We go through healthy relationships. If there's a need for it in somebody's life to be a successful, independent adult, we kind of cover it during their time with us. We do this not only for the residents in our home, but we also do that for our moms maybe not needing the housing, just needing the programming and the support. We have a mentorship program, so that's a little bit more intensive. We pair them with a mentor that's matched based on the mentor and the mentee's needs and history and kind of what they're looking for in that relationship. They work through a whole nother set of programming, including kind of writing their story and learning to speak their own truth, which is a big part of it. But that mentor is also kind of their go-to person for the time that they're with us. So they meet weekly with that person, with their staff advocate, to make sure they're hitting their goals and they're getting out of the program what they should. So we do offer all of that, even to minors if they are not living in our building. So if we have a pregnant teen that comes in that just needs extra support, but is still able to live with parents or, whoever she's staying with, we offer those programs that way. We actually got a grant this past year for our programming. So we were able to take all of our programming, about 90% of our programming that used to be done in person, and turn it into a virtual experience. So if they have access to a phone, iPad, laptop, or desktop computer, they can do almost all of our programming that way, which was really nice during COVID and still now. But it's really nice for our moms that don't need the residential part of it and just need the programming, because it cuts out a lot of the transportation issues. I don't know where everybody's from, but I know, especially in the southern part of Lake County, transportation is a huge issue because we don't have public transportation. So that's kind of like the bulk of what we do. We are involved in a lot of things, and over the last decade, we've really formed some strong partnerships with other community organizations. For example, St. Jude House, the domestic violence shelter, is about 10 minutes from us. And our program, because of the length and the intensity, our screening for our residents is a little bit more cumbersome and it takes a while. We do have emergency placements, but over the years, we've learned that typically emergency housing is not the realm that we're in. It's just a totally different beast, and we will do it because we never want a mom to be living on the street or in danger. But our facility is set up to be, we're not a domestic violence shelter, so we are a locked and secure facility, but we are not as secure as a place like St. Jude or the Caring Place. They have a lot of extra security measures. So we partnered with places like St. Jude and the Caring Place. So if we have a mom that is really homeless, like nowhere to live, or in danger, they will kind of take our mom in for that week to 10 days that sometimes it takes to get through the application and screening process, before they come into our program. So that has been a huge help, because we really didn't know what to do with these moms before. And I'm sure a lot of you have experience, even a little bit in group living situations. People coming in and out quickly can cause a lot of chaos. And because our moms stay with us so long, and our emphasis really is that this is their home. We set our building up as it's just kind of like a big 2-story house. There's, shared living space in the kitchen and living room and laundry room. And because they can bring their children with them, we want to make sure that their safety and their peace of mind kind of stays intact. So we try and mitigate a lot of that chaos of people just kind of coming in and out. We've also partnered with, I don't want to miss any of our major ones, so let me pull this up here. Regional health systems has been a huge help to us over the last 2 years, especially. About 95% of our moms struggle with substance abuse. So, like I said, when we started, we were trying to give moms another option aside from either abortion or adoption if their intent was to parent. And we still do have moms that choose adoption, and we support them through that process. But we've seen over the last decade, as I'm sure all of you have seen in social work, that our clients are now struggling a lot with substance abuse and major mental health issues. So we were kind of stumbling over these moms that were coming in and needed detox because we don't have medical staff. So we don't want pregnant moms detoxing in our building. And we also had this group of moms that was coming in that maybe had a little bit of a prescription left for antidepressants or antipsychotics or whatever they were on. And it's 12 weeks to a waiting list to get in to see a psychiatrist in our area. And a lot of the GPs and the OB doctors aren't comfortable all the time, especially when we're dealing with some of the more serious mental health. We have a lot of moms with bipolar and schizophrenia and major depression. And it's, like I say, where we're at, know your limits, and, know your scope of practice. And these doctors kind of felt the same. So we had this whole group of moms that was kind of falling through the cracks. They had a prescription from however long ago. They were taking it. They had nobody to write these prescriptions anymore, and the wait list was horrendous. So we were searching and searching and searching, and we partner with a great organization close to us called Heartland Recovery and Behavioral Health. And they do a lot of our outpatient substance abuse treatment, as well as they have licensed counselors there for our moms to be able to see a therapist. But their medical director is a psychologist. She's not a psychiatrist. So we were running into the same problems. So I did a lot of kicking and screaming and stomping and knocking on doors at Regional until I found this amazing woman named Camille who was happy to knock on doors and stomp and scream and throw a fit in the hallway with me until we got the right people to listen. So we were able to really make a good connection and form a good relationship with their behavioral health side, but also their medical side. So their doctors are happy to help our moms kind of fill that gap in between when they come into our program and when they can get through their psych evals and really kind of figure out what they needed to do from there. So that has been a huge help. They also are a big help in getting our moms placed for their 30 or 45-day detox because they have to be able to pass a drug test when they move in. So if we have a mom that's still actively using, we kind of send them Regional's way, and then Regional will get them a bed, get them through their detox, and we will hold their spot in our program while they're doing that. So then they can kind of just make that transition back to our program once they've been through detox. We also, I mentioned Heartland, they're really great. They're about a mile from us. So it makes their IOPs and some of their AA and NA meetings and things like that really accessible. And they can also see their therapist there if that is the place that they choose. We partner with Indiana University. So we always have master's and bachelor's level students coming through our facility. We usually have 2 to 3 at a time, which is great help. I know everybody loves free labor. It put me in a weird position when I became an Indiana University student. So we had to do some scrambling, to avoid that conflict of interest. But we have it figured out, and we have a wonderful, wonderful social worker that kind of has stepped in for my role with the schools so that I can kind of remove myself from that a little bit. But we've had a whole slew of really great interns come through that have brought some great things to the table. One just this past year brought through a trauma-informed training. So now we are a fully trauma-informed facility, which has been a great change for the staff and for the residents. We also partner with an organization called Heartbeat International. I actually just got back from their conference this week. I was speaking about substance abuse in maternity homes, and they are an organization that's in about 79 countries, and they have about 3,500 organizations that work with them. And it's all pregnancy help centers, maternity homes, adoption services. So they're a really great resource. We get a lot of referrals from them. They have a helpline. There's actually a movie about it recently, and I can't remember what the movie was, but this helpline that they have put in is just a really great resource for a mom who is pregnant and doesn't really know what to do or where to go. And so they can make referrals out that way. And then our other big partner is Mental Health America. We've been working with them since the beginning. And we refer out a lot of our programming to them and work very closely with the programs that they're building and that they offer to the community, because we are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We try not to duplicate services if we can avoid it. So when it's necessary, we will. But if somebody's already doing a really great job at it, and they usually are getting grant money for it, so we let them take the lead on that, because our organization it started as a ministry, so we don't get state and federal funding, so it makes our task a little bit more daunting, but we also have a lot more freedom in what we can and can't do and who we have to answer to. Sorry, I think I just knocked over something behind me. So that's kind of the bread and butter of our organization. Over the past 2 years, as the executive director, I've also stepped on to the board of the Lake County Community Action Team. So the Indiana State Department of Health recognized that our maternal and infant mortality rates in our state are horrendous, and that we wanted to figure out why and what we could do about it. So we started just meeting and talking. We have about, I want to say like 40 organizations in Lake County that attend these meetings. And our goal is to get these community organizations together and figure out how we can combat that, right? Our mission is to improve the health of the residents of Lake County, young and old. But right now our task is to try and figure out how we get those maternal and infant mortality numbers down. They are going down in the state. They're not going down in Lake County. So we are busy at work, um, and there's a lot of work to be done, but we're doing some great things, which kind of pulls in with the other thing Juliet mentioned. The Department of Health also spearheaded a team called the FEMUR team. There's also, so we do fetal and infant mortality. So we get records from the hospital and from the coroner, and we just really sit and go through every single detail of somebody's pregnancy. We do interviews with the parents to see if there's a social factor involved. And we just sit down and hash it out. So we have a couple physicians, a handful of nurses, a couple social workers that just really kind of dig through these records and see if we can figure out what's happening. We know that the number one killer of moms in our county is drugs. And because of that, that's a lot of our fetal mortality is drug related. But we're trying to figure out if these things can be preventable and how we can take that back then to the community action team and say, okay, these are the services we need, or we need to get into this part of the county, or we need to be able to offer this. How can we get that message out? What aren't we doing well enough, so that we can really start combating this ever growing problem? So then that ties back in to Mommy's Haven, because we are providing a lot of those services. And even though we've been around for a decade, and I feel like 80% of my job is just talking about my job so that people know that we are in existence. Everywhere I go, even in my own small town of 8,000 people, they're like, "Oh, I've never heard of it." And I'm like, "Really?" it's on the main road. Like, we have a sign, but sometimes it's hard to get the word out. So that is kind of what I am and what I do. I don't know if anybody has any questions or if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about.
Do you mind talking about how people can volunteer? So two parts that are quite similar: volunteer opportunities, and also how people can support and what support would look like.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's always a whole slew of volunteer opportunities. And I always tell people, if you have a talent or a passion for something, we can probably use it. So we had actually a teacher in our school district who just really loves yoga, and she just wanted to volunteer somehow. She's not a mom, so she didn't feel like she could be in a mentor role. So she comes in and she does yoga with our moms once a week. And we have somebody that loved to cook, and she comes in and does healthy cooking classes. But there's always on our website, there's opportunities. So we are always looking for like substitute house staff. We do staff 24 hours a day. So we don't have a huge staff, and they're usually spread pretty thin. So we're always looking for somebody that would want to come in and kind of, if it's something that they like to do, or you really want to get some client contact, that's really the way. We're always looking for people to be able to fill in, or to do those things. So things like career prep. That's a big need we have right now. We don't have somebody reliable to come in, and because our program is long term, sometimes it's a matter of coming in 3 or 4 times a year for a week, once a night, or however it works out, to come in and just really sit with these moms and help them build that resume. And sometimes those things are just done better face to face than they are virtually. We are always looking for people to help. We have a lot of men that go, "Do you need anything fixed?" We always need something fixed. It's like anybody else's house. It's a brand new house, but there's always something going wrong. So there's all kinds of opportunities. We do have some more intense opportunities, like our mentorship program. That's more time intensive because it's about an hour and a half a week that you're meeting with the resident, plus that non-formal contact throughout the week, their highs and lows, if they have a question about something. And then we have things like we get a lot of people that just want to cuddle babies, which is amazing. Who doesn't love to cuddle a baby? But we always tell them that's mom's job. You know, we're here to support her. But while we don't offer babysitting, so when they go back to work, they have to have childcare. But when they're meeting with their therapist or they're doing outpatient treatment, we will babysit for them because we know sometimes those are odd hours, a lot of times after business hours for daycares. So we're always looking for people to come help with the little ones during that time. So mom can really focus on her recovery, focus on her healing so that she can be a better mom when she comes home. And ways to give, there's again 1,000 ways. We're always looking for in-kind donations, so we try and keep an updated list of needs we have. Our Facebook is probably the most up to date. We do have an Amazon wish list that we try and keep up to date with things that we need. You know, we always need money, but we have great donors. Like we partnered with it's a big market. They do like 4 times a year, and I actually had the chance to sit down with the founder of this. This it's kind of like an upcycled. It's not like a craft show because the stuff's way cooler than I remember as a kid at craft shows, but it's just some really cool artists and vendors that come together, and they usually have about 300 or 350 vendors at each market they do 4 times a year. And so I had sat down with her a couple weeks ago because somebody had mentioned to her that she should partner with us, and I just like fell in love with this woman. She started this market as a way to fund her son's rehab. He had overdosed like 11 times. And she was like, we've got to do something. And she's like, well, we can't pay for it. You know, I don't know if any of you have looked at a bill from rehab, but it's pretty expensive. So she started this to be able to pay for his inpatient rehab. And now he is successful and thriving, and he's got like 11 years sobriety, and he started this group. It's called the Elephant Group, him and her, and they actually offer it at Heartland, just down the street from us. And it's kind of like a codependence, Al-Anon, Narcanon kind of feel for families of addicts. And it's just great what they've done, and they continue to give back to organizations all over the state through their group. So like they're collecting, you know, she kind of scared me a little bit. She's like, well, listen, last time when we supported St. Jude, we had so many like household cleaning things that we had to bring a semi in to move them. And then we had to start just making our rounds to all the shelters in the area because there was no way that they could take that much stuff. And I was like, well, we need money. We don't need cleaning supplies today. But like they're donating gift cards, you know, the girls in our program. So everything that they do when they get up and make their bed, when they go to work, when they complete any programming, when they see their therapist, they complete their IOP hours for the day, they earn points for all of that. And then they use those points to buy anything they need in our program. So we always give them like a starting kit to make sure they have all those things. But so during their time, they're never paying for diapers, wipes, shampoo, conditioner, but they also can buy things like jewelry, makeup, clothes if they want to keep them. They love buying gift cards because, you know, they don't really have a ton of extra money usually to go out and buy things, little treats for themselves or nicer makeup, or, you know, those wants that we try and, you know, drill into their head, like want versus need, you know, and this is your budget and how are we going to spend this? And, you know, so they love gift cards. Gas gift cards are a huge one, gas and groceries, because of the way that our program is set up. We don't have a budget for food. So our moms kind of pool their food stamps and their WIC, and they go through a rotation to buy what they need for the week. And so grocery gift cards are always nice. We do have a huge pantry. People will, you know, drop off non-perishable We love when groups or individuals, say, hey, every 2 months, I'd like to just go grocery shopping for the week and drop off, those perishable items that sometimes they don't always have the budget for, or it's just nice to kind of have a little bit of ease when it comes to a grocery budget for them. So those are always needs too. Um, and really just looking for community partners that can help us better serve our moms. So we did a really big overhaul of our programming this last year and kind of looked at what was working and what was not. And my interns probably hate me because the first job I always give them is to go through our policies and procedures manual, which is terrible. But I want to know as the director, like, if what is written down is not what we're doing or it's not what's working, I need to know so we can go back through and either make adjustments if it's a staff issue or if it's a policy issue or if times have just changed over the last 10 years, what is working and what's not. So we just did a really big overhaul of all our programming, and we kind of got rid of some things and changed some things, especially when it comes to the moms that are dealing with substance abuse. We used to require things like during our program, they had to comply with whatever programming was set by their intake at either regional or Heartland. And we still have that policy, but when they get into this transitional period, so once their baby turns about 6 months old, they kind of go into a transition. And sometimes we have subsidized apartments and houses that they will move into, and sometimes those aren't available. So if not, then they kind of pay a program fee. And basically, all the rules aside from curfew go out the window. They don't have to request passes to leave. They can come and go as they please. It's just more like they're renting their space. And kind of giving them that last step before they're completely out on their own. And I sat and thought about it, and I said, well, we all know that relapse is part of the process when it comes to recovery. But with the way the program was set up, we weren't giving them the opportunity for that. And as weird as that sounds, we are finding that some of our moms were leaving our program, graduating our program, and had 18 months of sobriety, 2 years of sobriety under their belt, and then as soon as somebody wasn't watching them and checking off their sheets anymore, they were relapsing. And so we took that and we kind of looked at the programming and said, okay, during that 6-month transition period, we're not going to require it anymore, because if they're going to relapse, we want them to relapse while they're still kind of under our care. They still have our support, they still have the guidance, and they have the opportunity to realize when a relapse is happening. How are we going to avoid these triggers when we completely get on our own, and things like that. So we're always looking for people to kind of partner with us, to offer better programming or more robust programming, or somebody that can support the programming that we have. Like St. Jude, we had a need that needed to be filled, and they were able to do that for us. And then in return, a lot of their moms, if they have domestic violence, women that are experiencing domestic violence who are pregnant, can kind of transition into our program a little bit more seamlessly, because they're able to do that for us, and then we're able to kind of open up spots for them. So those are really kind of the big ticket items. And our moms, once they do graduate our program, they can still participate in it. So they can move out and be completely graduated, and they can still come back in the house or FaceTime or email with our staff and show them, like, hey, I saw my therapist and I went to work, here's my pay stub. And they still earn points for that, even though they've graduated. So they could potentially, for every day their baby is ever in diapers, and toddler and whoever, never have to pay for diapers, never have to pay for wipes, never need to go to, a pantry to get shampoo and conditioner and all that stuff that nobody, even as an adult, like that has my own household, I don't want to pay for that. Like, toilet paper is expensive. Every time I walk in my bathroom and my kids have squeezed out the shampoo bottle all over the bathtub, I'm like, what? Now I have to buy it again, So it's just kind of mitigating some of those things so that we know that the odds of these women leaving our program and making $60,000 or $80,000 a year are very slim. Most people in poverty are never going to leave poverty, but we try and tell them living in the national poverty guidelines and having a life where you can feed your kids and be able to do things for them are those can go hand in hand. You don't have to make $50,000 a year to be quote unquote successful. But these are the things that can help. If you keep doing the right things and taking the right steps, then you don't have to worry about all these little expenses, and you can use that, $100 a week or a month that you have extra to buy your kids, the shoes that they want, not the Walmart version, or the birthday gifts that they want. And our supporters have been really great about that. We've never had a birthday, Mother's Day, Christmas that we haven't sent out a list of things or a list of this is how many people we have. I mean, the kids, the Christmases they get are probably never going to be as good as they are. But even last year, we had 6 moms graduate the year before. One had 6 kids. The others had 1 or 2. And, our sponsors were able to provide that same Christmas, even though they had graduated and moved out of the program, because those moms were still doing the right thing and, participating in some way in our programming. So that's been really nice to see too.
Thank you so much, Katie. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I have a question for you. So you said that is there have you guys ever thought about going in to try and get some of the money and partner better or partner in different ways with like state funding? And I'm just curious.
Yeah, so the money for maternity housing is there's almost none. And if there is, it's like this age group, like 18 to 21, which we've served that age group, but we've also had 44-year-olds and kind of everything in between. So right now we're kind of looking at ways that we can go after some grant funding along the lines of the substance abuse treatment, because we're partnering with these different organizations like the Caring Place. They had built a new shelter, and half of their shelter is reserved for moms that are in substance abuse treatment. So we're kind of looking at that angle because there's just not a lot for quote unquote maternity housing. But we also did just get a grant writer on our board. So that's really nice to not have to think about that anymore. And she's doing a wonderful job, because I'm like, this is not my talent. I can write, but I don't even know what, like, I'd spent, you could hire 2 grant writers and that's all they do in their 40-hour work week is research and write grants. And then you get, 1/10 of them if you're lucky.
I was just thinking about because a lot of that money it doesn't really help with that transition.
Yeah.
That longer term hand holding, for lack of
Yeah.
a better word, because you're not, but that support. And so it's a great model though for what we should
Yeah,
be doing.
and we've seen that. And I actually just had a board meeting last month, and I was getting ready for this conference, and there's about 1,500 people at this conference. So we get like a good glimpse of kind of what's offered nationwide. And they had asked me at my board meeting, do you think we should go into short-term housing? Because we see a need for it. Moms don't like to commit, not, I shouldn't say moms, about half of our applicants don't want to commit to 12 to 24 months. I mean, that sounds, I have no idea what my life's going to look in 12 to 24 months either, and we don't require, they say they're not punished if they leave. And I said, let me get through my conference, because I had put it out. We're part of, there's like a national coalition for maternity homes. And I had kind of put it out to the group, and everyone was either like, we do like up to 2 weeks postpartum, or they had a model similar to ours. And I said, does anybody have like this dual model where you do short-term housing for some and long-term housing for others? And everyone looked at me like I was crazy. And I was so glad, because I'm telling my board, like, that's not going to work. I don't know if you've ever like been in here but you can't have some rules for some people and some rules for another. That's just asking for chaos. And we're one of about 3 or 4 in the nation that have this long-term program. There are some others that have very long-term, like 4 or 5 years. And their mission is a little bit different. They want their moms to be able to go and get their bachelor's degree so that they know they're going to be making a little bit more money. But we also see this struggle with that when somebody is really ready to be on their feet, yet they're still kind of under somebody else's care. It gets a little bit different. So right before COVID hit, we were partnering with some real estate investors that wanted to buy a few houses in the area so that we could offer an even longer transition for these moms, because we see in our area affordable housing is almost non-existent. And again, we've been really lucky that we've had people that wanted to support us but couldn't necessarily write us a check, but they've said, hey, I have an apartment and I will give your mom, rent for half of what I would charge another tenant, and given that way, which has been just amazing, because every mom that's graduated our program has been able to find an apartment or a house for an unheard of rent without going through HUD and things like that. And so that's been really great. But COVID hit and the market kind of took off in a crazy way. And so now we're sitting back just kind of waiting, but yes, we want to offer this transition because it is like, we can't just say, hey, great, you had a healthy baby and you got through our programming. Now, good luck, because you're making $10 an hour and your rent's $1,000 a month. Plus, your $1,200 a month in childcare. It gets really crazy. But yeah, we are trying to look at some other funding sources because it's a need and we're filling it now. But we also see long term, is this a sustainable financial plan? Because there are better ways.
Thank you. Very impressive.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm graduating VSW this spring, and I live in Lowell. I met you before, remember, Katie?
Yeah,
I was going to be your
familiar.
Yeah, I was going to be your intern, like through Journey Scholarship last summer, but then COVID hit, kind of washed everything out. So I'm looking to volunteer in Lowell this summer, and so I will totally be doing your website and hoping to come in to volunteer.
Awesome. Yeah, all of the contact comes directly to me. So no matter what word you put in front of @mommieshaven.org, it all somehow gets filtered to me. So yeah, go on there. There's some forms you can fill out if you want to be specific. Otherwise, you can just shoot me an email. My phone's always in my hand, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I learned so much more about the whole program and everything. So that's great. And yeah, I will totally be doing that.
Great. I'm glad you could be here today.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there any more questions?
I have to say, Katie, it's very inspirational to think about the what you've been able to do. So, and go to school. So be proud of yourself for that.
Thank you. It's been an interesting year, but we're making it. I think my 2-year-old's banging outside my door right now. I tell the story about how this was my internship in undergrad. Anytime I'm talking to a group of interns or students or even people that have recently graduated, because I had somebody say to me one time, like I said, I do a lot of talking about my job as part of my job. And somebody's like, you're just so happy when you talk about your work. And you don't get that a lot in like the human services, social work field. Burnout is real. And there are some days where I'm like, what am I doing? But most days I am happy when I talk about my job because I love what I do. I love our mission. I found a board that supports sometimes my seemingly insane ideas. And it's just so important, right? To find something. I know they always say, like, find what you're passionate about and make money at that. Well, I'm passionate about a lot of things, but I'm never going to be a professional dancer. And, you know, I'm too old to be like a softball player, and I'm a terrible artist, and I can't sing. So no matter how much singing I do in my car, I'm never going to make money at that. But, you know, I have found an organization and a cause that I love and that I feel like is making an impact, right? We're not helping 200 moms a year. There's some years where the same 6 moms that started in January are still in our program in December. And we may help a handful of others in different ways or just with programming. But seeing a mom who came in to our program, she was pregnant with baby 6. She wanted to parent, and I was like, is this woman crazy? She doesn't have custody of any of her kids. She went to jail. Straight from jail, she went to rehab. Straight from rehab, she's coming to us only because DCS is telling her, if you don't do something, that baby's ours. And bails on me the day she's supposed to move in. Calls me the next day, says she's ready. And I said, you know, whatever it was inside of me was like, just be okay with it, you know? So she comes in, has her baby the next day. This mom now has custody of all 6 of her kids. She is working, she is sober, she is breaking these cycles of generational poverty and trauma. You know, and I told her, her older kids are going to remember that, and we make sure that they're in therapy and they're in family therapy and they're trying to work through all these things. But her little ones, I'm like, they're not going to know what it's like to not have food. They're not going to know what it's like to be and supervised visitations or living with random family members or strangers. They're not going to know that life. You know, this mom was sent to jail because her sister, who also had all of her kids removed, called the police on her because she had more meth than her sister did. You know, and her mom had all of her kids removed. And it was just these generations of, this is just normal. I have babies, DCS takes them away. Sometimes I get them back, sometimes I don't. And, oh, sorry. And it was just this world that I really had like no idea about. And I see moms that come from that, and then they completely turn their life around. And like I said, she may make $12 or $13 for an hour for the rest of her life, but her kids are happy, they're healthy, they're thriving, she's thriving, she's making better choices, she's not with toxic men, you know, she's not even in contact with a lot of the toxic family members she had around her. And I'm like, this is why the smile's on my face when I come to work every day, because if I have 2, 3, 4 of these a year, I know I can't save the world. And I know we've all had that like moment where we're like, you just want to take a client and shake them and go, why can't I save this person? You know, but knowing that that's never going to be our reality in the social work field. We can't help people that don't want help, that don't want to change their life. But the ones that do, I will talk for 100 hours a week about my job. If it makes one person refer one person to me, you know, that's really going to have a different outcome, because I always have like this visual of like, you know, the generational cycles. Like I'm helping one mom that had 6 kids, and those 6 kids may have 2 or 3 or 4 kids. And in 3 generations, we've helped 150 people avoid this generational trauma that all these other people have experienced. And that is saving the world, right? That is changing our world by helping one person. So it's wonderful. I love what we do. And if anybody has any questions or you know, wants any information, or, you know, just needs a referral source, you know, please reach out to me. My email is katie@mommyshaven.org. And like I said, if you go to our website, you can't miss me. I'm all the emails.
Yeah, it's a great presentation. It's glad to have you, Katie. I have 2 questions. The first one, if like the mothers who does not speak English, like for instance, Spanish, and like we know the cultural competency as well, kind of be how you accommodate these moms. The second one is, I know you talk a lot about the great program, and we talked at the beginning that my area is a program evaluation. Have you done any form or program evaluation to see the effectiveness and successful of the program in a way that in a formal format.
We have not done any formal program evaluation. When you're talking about your class, I was like, oh, we should really do that. I came back from my conference going, I really need to like revamp my HR policies. We skate under the federal like regulations because of the size of our organization, but that doesn't mean that I don't need to look at them. And we have been talking about since we've redone a lot of our programming, to be able, like at the end of the year, to do more formal evaluations, because one, it would be nice for me to know, but two, I think it's a great tool too to go to our board and say, okay, either I'm crazy and this isn't working, or I'm not crazy and this is working. But also to our donors, I always say to our moms, I have to answer to small businesses, churches, individual donors. Like, these are the reason that we're able to do the things that we do. Well, I don't have to write a report at the end of the year and send it off, to whoever gave me the grant. I do have to be able to look at this and say, this is working or it's not. And then as far as the cultural, especially the language barriers, we haven't had many that have come through or applied for the program. I think we're lucky in that we do have some bilingual staff, and our immediate community is heavily Hispanic. So we do, any moms that are Spanish speaking, we're able to kind of help that way. We've not had any that don't speak English predominantly that have been in the residential part of our programming. Now, our virtual programming is in like 18 different languages or something. So that is a little bit helpful too, because at least they can kind of choose their choice of language to be able to go through the programming, make sure that they really understand what they're being told and able to ask questions and things like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Katie. This was super informational, and as Beryl said, inspirational to us all. So thank you for all you do in our community, and thank you for taking time to come and share your story and your organization with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so nice to see everybody. And I love anytime I can talk, I'm here. I'm here for it. So thank you, Juliet. And thank you, Beryl, for hosting this.
You're very welcome. And thank you all for joining us. And I'm sure there's something. Oh, I know. So we have a lunch and learn next Wednesday. Jill? We have a lunch and learn next Wednesday. It's on our website. $10 for non-members, free for members. So if anybody's interested, you can jump on there. And the recording from this, Katie will put it up on our YouTube page, and it'll be linked from our website. So if you want to send anybody that you know to it, you can do that too. So thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.